Hey, NoNonsenseKnowHow here. Today replacing the alternator in this 2002 Jaguar X-Type with the 3.0 liter. This car's got 115,000 miles on it and the charging system is not functioning properly. I'm not going to go into the diagnostics of that right now, but the battery light's on and the alternator's not charging. So, to begin, you might want to get your car jacked up a little bit. I'm on a car lift here. Go ahead and remove this wheel right here. 5 19mm lug nuts, and then you have an inner cover that's going to be held on with 4 screws. Mine had these, not sure if they're factory or not, just some flatheads on there. Then remove your battery cover and disconnect your negative battery terminal. Very important that you do that, especially when doing an alternator. Remove your oil cap and these 3 Phillips heads on here, holding this plastic cover on, and then we're going to go ahead and get our serpentine belt off. Before removing the belt, it's a good idea to draw yourself a diagram. Here's a picture of one I drew for you to save you the trouble. Now it's a little tight in here with this belt, but to get to your tensioner, you're going to use a 3/8 ratchet like this. Get that down on this tensioner right here and push the tensioner counterclockwise. Another method is you could remove these two 10mm here on your power steering reservoir. You got 15mm here on this motor mount and 3 15mm on the bottom, and then jack the engine up a little bit, taking this mount out of the way just to get more belt access instead of trying to jam your hands down up in here. So that's going to be your option. So I got a breaker bar on my ratchet. Go ahead and go counterclockwise and then slip the belt off one of the pulleys. You go ahead and yank that belt out of there, off all those pulleys. You might notice when you're pulling it out, it's wrapped around the back side of the tensioner there, so you got to kind of tuck it around the back and yank it out. Kind of a pain. Once you get it out, check for cracking. You can see this one's got some good dry rot on it, so we're going to be replacing this belt. Also, go ahead and, again, it's tight in here, but check all your pulleys and make sure that they all spin and don't have a lot of play in them, and that they, no debris in there either or anything like that. Little pebbles jammed up in the pulleys. Now, since we're going to be removing the AC compressor, you got to drain out the Freon in this. This is your high side port right here and your low side port right here. If you don't have an AC machine or a way to do this, I recommend bringing it to a shop where they can properly recycle the Freon out of the car. Now, like I said, you want to check all these pulleys, spin them all, make sure they're all quiet. Or tensioner's quiet. Good example here though, this one right here, your idler, it's all kind of chunkied up, and then when you spin it, it's got a lot of play and a lot of bearing noise, so I'm definitely going to suggest replacing that. Looks like a 15mm bolt holding that on. You get that with a ratcheting wrench or socket on there if you can get it in there. And the alternator on this car is going to be located right down in here. Kind of tough to get to, but you can see this one's covered in oil residue. If you see that on your alternator, definitely replace your valve cover gaskets, or at least the front one. To do the rear, you got to pull the intake too, but don't skimp out. Definitely, if you're going to be putting a new alternator in this, go ahead and replace your valve cover gaskets at the same time, because that's going to kill the new one. It's nice to have the new part as well, so we can see how that's mounted. This is what it looks like. So you're going to have one bolt going across the top. You got one battery terminal lug nut on the back here, one connection, and then one bolt on the bottom with threads in there. So it's nice to see that. Gives us an idea how the old one's going to come out of there. This is going to be coming out the bottom. You can see how much oil is really leaking on this thing. So remove these two 13mm on your AC compressor, and then this 10mm on your AC lines. Tuck this line out of the way, and then get the two 13mm on the top. Looks like we can get an air ratchet in on the bottom, plenty of room, and then the top one's going to be a little tighter. Now you can leave the bolts in there and go ahead and just pop this down. However, before popping this down, you do have to reach up and get this electric connection off right here. Kind of a bear to get to, but before pulling this down, you got to make sure to take it off. You squeeze down right here, and that'll slide right off on here. I was able to use this air ratchet right here to get to all 4 of those. Like usual, if you're using hand tools, it's going to be a little trickier. All right, 10mm ratcheting wrench on this lower bolt right here to get that off. Get the electrical connection off the back. You see, squeeze down right here. It positions in there like that, so the squeeze clip is toward the front of the vehicle. Now come up in here, push this rubber cover off your lug and get that off. That's either going to be a 12 or a 13mm, depending on if you have an aftermarket or factory alternator in there. Get that off of there. This is when it's very important that the battery's disconnected, because this is a live lead here that goes to the battery, so make sure that's disconnected before removing that. I was able to get 12mm wrench on the nut on the back side of the battery cable there, and then 13 millimeter on this top bolt going across the top. I used this air ratchet right here. Came out pretty easy with that. And then once that's out, I can pretty much wiggle this thing around and pop it out like so. So yeah, at this point, come down to your other alternator. Before you go jamming this one in, compare your connector. It looks identical. Compare your pulleys if they look the same. This one looks slightly different, but the ribs count out and measure out the same. All right, so I'm ready to slap this one back in there. Assembly is going to be reverse of removal. If there's any tips that I think you need to know as I'm putting it together, I'll definitely let you know those. But otherwise, you know, just go back in the video if you need to see how things came apart in what order. Make sure on the compressor that your O-rings are in good shape and there's no dirt or anything there. Good idea to actually replace those, but if not, at least clean them up and re-oil them with some AC lubricant. One tip, where this slides in this gap up here, sometimes this might be a little too narrow to slip the new alternator in if there's a difference in them. So on this left side here, driver's side, there is a sleeve. You can hit this with a hammer or something to get that to slide back in the sleeve a little bit. So this is adjustable for in case there are differences in the width of this compared to the old alternator. Make sure to hand thread in all of the bolts before you zip them down, get all 4 in. Also on the top of this AC compressor, you got dowels on the top, so make sure that those get seated into the block properly like that before zipping these down. After pulling the AC system into a vacuum, we can see here's our recommended Freon charge, 810 grams, plus or minus 25 grams, or 1 pound, 12.3 ounces. Before attempting to route your new belt in there, go ahead and take your thumbs between the belt like this, and just make sure that they're approximately the same length, because occasionally you might get the wrong belt and you're going to save yourself some time by checking that first. Take these bends like this, because otherwise it looks kind of like that. Keep it just like this. Take these bends and roll them the opposite way, just like so. Bend them and roll them like that until you kind of get the belt a little bit straight. You might want to do a little bit more than that, so that way when you pick it up you don't have those bends in there so aggressively. That's going to help out when you're slipping that in. All right, so we got our belt pretty straightened out here. Here's one more look if you want to pause this of the diagram. The trickiest part of getting this belt on is really your tensioner pulley, number 5 here. That's a smooth pulley, so the smooth side of the belt is going to ride on that, and then the rib side is going to go back around the crank like so. So I like to start by getting that on there, and the way I'm going to try to do that here, or the way I usually do it, is put the belt inside out like so. And again, I'm not really going to be able to show you step by step how to put this on because I need both hands, but that tensioner pulley right there, essentially you're going to slip this belt around the back side of it, get it behind it, and then pull your belt all the way down till you get to the other side of it, if this makes sense to you guys. And you know, so you have the smooth side on that, and then, you know, wrap it around your crank and all your other pulleys. Refer to that belt diagram, get it on there. Again, if you need to, take this motor mount out, jack the engine up a little bit to get your hands in there. If you got big hands or something like that, you can't get in there. So I was able to roll that around and then pull the belt all the way through, so I have it in this position like I do now, if you can see that. Now you're gonna pop it up, roll around the crank, and all your other ones. But again, getting this belt on, the trickiest part is going to be that tensioner for you guys. All right, so I got it properly seated on all the other pulleys, which, like I said, it's not easy to do. Left it just off the crank down here. Now I got my right hand on the tensioner. I'm going to remove all the tension and slip that belt over like so. It's on. At this point, go back on all your pulleys before we start this and make sure that it's properly on all your pulleys. Yeah, not too bad. So anyway, I'm gonna bolt this wheel on, connect the battery. Well, I'm gonna put that plastic cover on first over there. Connect the battery up, plastic cover up there, all that. Fire this up, good to go. And hopefully I didn't run through that too quickly. You can always pause, rewind. I gotta get things done quickly around here, so sometimes it's troublesome to shoot a video. But I definitely appreciate a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Helps me out hugely, lets me know, I'm getting good information out there, all the above. So anyway, until next time, enjoy your day, evening, whatever it is, and no nonsense, no how. All right, thumbs up, thanks a lot.